Not every miracle makes noise. Not every victory comes with fireworks. Sometimes the greatest sign that you've won is the silence that scares you. It's the peace that arrives without explanation. What if you've been ignoring the signs, simply because they don't look like what you were taught to expect? And what if the stillness you've been calling stagnation is actually confirmation that everything has already aligned and is just waiting for you to stop doubting? In this video, you'll understand that the signs of spiritual victory don't always come as answers. Sometimes they arrive as emptiness, as neutrality, as a sudden urge to simplify everything in your life. And all of that is an answer. You'll begin to recognize that strange feeling of, "I don't belong here anymore," isn't an existential crisis. It's a vibrational shift. And those small synchronicities, the fading of old triggers, and the unexplainable gratitude are invisible codes from a new reality. This is not a motivational video. It's an energetic mirror. And if you've made it this far, it's because a part of your soul already knows what it's about to hear. It just needed a reminder. So close your eyes for a few seconds, take a deep breath and get ready to finally recognize the signs the universe has already given you. The ones you can no longer ignore. Because yes, you've already won. And now it's time to see it. First sign of victory, the silence after the storm. Some people find it strange when chaos finally takes a break. Life, which felt like a battlefield just yesterday, suddenly goes quiet. And it's precisely in that silence that many assume everything has stopped. But the wise know this emptiness isn't absence, it's transition. It's the sacred pause between the last breath of pain and the first inhale of harvest. Imagine the sea after a fierce storm. On the surface, everything looks calm, serene. But those who dive deep know currents are still shifting everything below. It's the same with the soul. Silence doesn't mean stagnation. It means the field is recalibrating the new frequency you activated. That uncomfortable pause added that "I don't know what to do anymore" has a purpose. It's clearing out excess effort, the addiction to control, the obsession with answers. It's a detox from everything that once made you fight so hard. And yes, it feels uneasy, because the ego hates not being in control. But the spirit loves this kind of creative void. Have you noticed how sometimes, after you've done all you could, and you're left exhausted, frustrated, worn out, there comes a moment when all you want is silence? That's the moment the universe begins to work on your behalf. That's when you step aside and let the flow take over. I remember a season in my life where everything felt stuck. Prayers hit the ceiling, answers wouldn't come. Then came the silence, cold, uncomfortable, empty. But in that silence, something shifted. I began to listen, not with my ears, but with my soul. At first, I felt abandoned. I had done everything right and still nothing moved. But what I didn't know was that everything was moving, just not on the visible plane. The pieces were aligning where I couldn't yet see. How do you explain that strange peace after a long crisis? Not a joyful peace, but a deep one that whispers, "It's over." That's the sign. The universe has already ended that battle, and now it's cleansing the field so something new can grow. It's like the moment after the storm fades and the sky remains cloudy, but the air already smells like change. You don't see the sun yet, but you feel it coming. That is the silence after the victory. Don't ignore it. It's more sacred than it seems. Those who don't understand this moment tend to force movement where rest is needed. They try to plant in soil still soaked from the last storm, but the wise farmer waits, knows the ground must breathe before it receives the next seed, and you need that too. That strange silence you're living right now might not be punishment. Maybe it's consecration, maybe you've already won and just haven't realized it yet. And that's why the universe quieted you, because now it wants to show you what comes after the battle. Because right after the silence comes the next sign. But you can only perceive it when you let go of the need for noise. And that's where an even deeper shift begins. Second sign of victory, the detachment from what you once wanted. There comes a moment when what you once wanted so deeply simply loses its grip. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't revolt, it just dissolves. As if the soul whispered, "Thank you. I've learned what I needed." What once brought anxiety now brings a quiet kind of peace, And no, this isn't giving up. It's release. It's like letting go of the rope in a tug of war. As long as you're pulling, the other side pulls back with force. But when you let go, everything finds balance. You realize you didn't need to win. You just needed to release. Because those who release find lightness. This is one of the most spiritual signs that the manifestation is already complete. There's no more obsession, no desperate urgency tearing at your soul. There is trust, a quiet yes that doesn't come from the mind, but from the field. You realize you no longer need to chase it because what's yours is already making its way to you. I lived this with an old dream that once consumed me. I prayed every day, begged for signs, clung to every crumb of hope. But one morning I woke up and just wanted peace, not joy, not sorrow, just the desire to be present. And in that emptiness, everything began to unfold. Most people think that achieving something means fighting for it until the end, but sometimes the end of the fight is what activates the miracle. Letting go doesn't mean you stop wanting. It means you stop resisting. It means you trust the universe with the timing, the method, the path, and trust that your part is already done. When your vibration aligns with what you desire, the wanting stops screaming and becomes a whisper. It still exists, but in peace. Because need was replaced by certainty, and anxiety by quietness. You know that job, that person, that outcome you used to want so badly? If you can now think about it with neutrality, it means the energy has either already integrated or already taught you what it came to teach. Either way, the lesson is complete. Here it's curious how detachment arrives quietly. You don't notice it the day it happens, but you notice it days later, when you realize you haven't thought about it. And when you do remember, it doesn't hurt anymore. In fact, it brings unexpected relief. And that relief is sacred. It signals that you've left the frequency of lack and entered the frequency of abundance, because what's truly yours doesn't require constant struggle. It requires alignment, and alignment is silent. The soul that understands this transforms. It stops collecting desires and starts cultivating trust, no longer begging for scraps out of desperation, but waiting with reverence for what truly holds value. And true value never shouts. It simply vibrates. Have you noticed that the most impactful things in your life usually came when you weren't forcing anything? Maybe you had even forgotten to ask, but you were at peace, whole, and open, and the field read that frequency as, "I'm ready." That's the difference between wanting and being ready. Those who want too much vibrate lack. Those who are ready vibrate acceptance, and the universe responds precisely to each frequency. Because it doesn't hear your words, it feels your energy. Letting go is not losing, it's stepping back. So what's truly yours can come closer. It's stopping the chase of time, of people, of certainty, and starting to inhabit the now with gratitude. Not gratitude for what's coming, but for what already is. And it's in that deep peace that the next key begins to reveal itself. It doesn't show up in the noise, but in the serenity of the unknown. And that's where another powerful, subtle sign begins to unfold. Third sign of victory, the unexpected calm in the unknown. There's a kind of peace that isn't born from answers, but from the trust to keep going even without them. It arrives gently, without fanfare, quiet, subtle, and unexpectedly serene. It's when you realize you don't know, and yet you're okay. This strange calm isn't apathy, it's spiritual maturity. It's the moment when I need to understand loses power, and I accept becomes your new prayer. You don't surrender out of exhaustion, you surrender out of awareness. It's like stepping onto a road with no signs, and still trusting the destination. Not because your eyes see it, but because something within already has, and that's enough. Life places you in a void, a space between what was and what's yet to come. And the ego panics in that space. It wants answers, direction, control. But the soul just breathes, because it recognizes that space as a womb. In the darkness of the unknown, the seeds are germinating. They don't need constant light to grow, just time, warmth, and trust. And that's exactly what this silence offers. The analytical mind hates this kind of peace. It calls it stagnation. But the heart knows it's expansion in progress, because the field works in silence, and miracles don't need an audience. I remember a season in my life when everything felt suspended. Projects stalled, relationships on pause, paths closed. But I didn't feel despair. It was like being on a plane, the engine noise gone. Yet the pressure on my body told me we were climbing. That spiritual autopilot is real. You've already prayed, already acted, already aligned, and now you just need to let the universe fly, to trust without a map, without GPS, without guarantees, because the invisible path is more precise than any logical plan. One exercise that helped me in those moments was writing daily. I trust the delay, not just repeating it mentally, but feeling every word, as if declaring to the field, I accept, I allow, I continue. The serenity that comes from not knowing is more powerful than the certainty that comes from the mind, because it comes from the soul. And the soul has already seen the end of the story. It knows you'll arrive. This peace in the unknown is a disguised gift. It teaches you to walk lightly, to notice subtle sign, and to stop searching in desperation for signals. It's when you begin to discern between intuition and anxiety. Intuition whispers in silence, anxiety screams in chaos, and when you're calm in the middle of, I don't know, it's because your intuition is in charge. Many people think faith is loud, but the most powerful kind of faith is silent. It doesn't need to shout, it just needs to move forward, one step at a time, in the dark, with a glowing heart. And when you get used to that peace that doesn't depend on explanations, you begin to see beauty in the invisible. You begin to feel guided, even with no clear direction. And in that state, the universe starts shifting everything for you, including gently removing what no longer belongs. Fourth sign of victory, people start leaving peacefully. There are moments when the universe begins to empty the room, even before you realize the show is over. People who once felt like you're always start drifting away. No fight, no drama. They just fade out. And this time, you know, it's not personal, it's energetic. It's as if something is clearing the space around you, not as punishment, but as preparation. The field is detaching you from what no longer matches your frequency, and that includes friendships, relationships, patterns, even places. It hurts, but it's necessary. Think of autumn. The leaves don't fight to stay on the tree, they simply let go. No attachment, no drama, because they know the cycle has changed. Many mistake this for rejection, but it's not rejection, it's release. It's the field saying you don't need this anymore, not because it was bad, but because it already served its purpose. I remember a friend I used to talk to every single day. We laughed together, dreamed together, grew side by side. But one day, silence arrived. No argument, no final words. Just silence. At first it hurt. I tried to understand, tried to pull them back, but something inside me whispered, let them go. Months later, I understood. That empty space needed to be filled by something new. And it was. With something I would have missed had I stayed stuck in the past. Not every departure is a loss. Some are alignments, and the soul knows how to recognize that, even when the ego screams for explanations, because the soul feels the relief where there once was weight. As you begin to grow spiritually, not everyone will come with you, and that's okay. Some will stay behind at the previous station. Others will take a different train. The secret is not forcing permanence, where the energy has already ended. You don't have to fight to keep bonds that the universe has dissolved. It might hurt, but it hurts more to cling to what has already expired. People come and go like chapters in a book, some short, some long. But each one has a purpose, and none need to last forever to be meaningful. Accepting that is wisdom. You'll notice that as you release what's leaving, new things begin to arrive, new ideas, new connections, new spaces inside of you. But first, you must make room, and the universe takes care of that, even when you don't understand. That's the dance of life. Some dance with you for an entire song, others only for the chorus, but all leave a mark, and none need to be dragged beyond the melody. When acceptance becomes easier than resistance, you know you're ready for the next level. And in that new space, everything begins to realign with more lightness, including the small signs that show the flow has returned. And that's exactly what the next sign is here to reveal. Fifth sign of victory. Little things start working effortlessly. There comes a moment when life, without warning, starts cooperating with you. No fireworks, no loud victories, just tiny alignments that quietly whisper, "It's time now." And you begin to notice it in the details. The email you were waiting for, it arrives. The perfect parking spot opens. That awkward conversation finally flows. Synchronicity becomes routine, and randomness starts to feel choreographed. It's like the universe is tuning an orchestra around you. Before, everything sounded off, disjointed, out of rhythm. But now, each note fits perfectly. Every event has timing and purpose, and you begin to dance with the flow. This ease doesn't come because you got lucky. It's the vibrational signature of your alignment. When you stop resisting, the field responds, not with grandeur, but with precision. And that precision changes everything. I remember a simple yet unforgettable day. I had to handle 3 things in different cities. Everything pointed to chaos. But traffic flowed, people were available, and I finished ahead of schedule. That day, I understood. The field is responding. It's when you're surprised by how effortlessly things begin to unfold. Solutions show up before problems escalate. Opportunities arise without effort, and you feel like you're no longer pushing life forward. You're being carried gently. Coincidences increase, but they're not coincidences, they're confirmations. Little whispers from the universe saying, "Keep going, you're on the path." The soul recognizes this harmony. It expands, it smiles without reason, and it begins to trust even more deeply because it sees in real time that the field is responsive. It doesn't mean everything becomes perfect, but what was stuck begins to loosen. What felt heavy begins to flow, and what seemed impossible finds its way. You become a partner with reality. It's as if you've learned to breathe in sync with creation itself. Not too fast and not too slow, just right on time. And that shift changes everything, including the way you see life. You stop thinking you have to conquer everything, and you begin to see that many things just needed to be allowed. Ease is not spiritual laziness, it's alignment, and alignment is the fruit of inner work. When something starts working out with ease, most people become suspicious, but the awakened recognize it. They know that lightness is a sign of alignment, not luck, because luck is just what we call what we've vibrated long enough. You no longer need to run or control or prove anything. You just need to remain present and let the next sign show you how much you've already transformed within. Sixth sign of victory, the old triggers lose power. One of the most subtle and most powerful signs that you've won is realizing that what once shook you simply no longer touches you. The automatic reaction dissolves, and in place of pain, a calm awareness arises. It's as if you've become fireproof. Criticism no longer burns, delays no longer trigger anger, rejection no longer paralyzes you. Something inside has learned how to remain whole. This doesn't mean indifference, it means liberation. Because now you know you don't have to react to everything. You choose where to place your energy. And that choice is power. I remember a situation that used to throw me off completely. Unanswered messages. They triggered feelings of rejection, abandonment, anxiety. But one day, I realized their silence wasn't about me. And in that moment, I gained a peace no reply could ever bring. Triggers are like old buttons. They only work while the wiring is still connected, but once you change the inner structure, you can press that button all you want. Nothing happens, and that is freedom. Before, everything felt personal. Now everything becomes perception. You see beyond the reaction, you understand what lies beneath, and you respond with presence, not impulse. This is one of the highest signs of spiritual maturity. You begin to remain neutral in the face of chaos, not because you don't care, but because you've learned not to absorb what isn't yours, and that protects you. It's like shifting from a sponge to a filter. You still perceive, but you no longer carry. You still feel, but you no longer suffer. You transform it into understanding, and that changes everything in your journey. The field senses this shift too, because when you no longer react, you send out a new vibration, and the universe understands. This lesson has been learned, and so it releases you to the next level. It's not about becoming a robot. It's about healing the wounds that fed those triggers. And that healing doesn't come from outside. It comes from looking within and saying, now, I choose myself. When you stop being activated by old patterns, everything around you starts to shift as well, because you're no longer feeding the cycle, and where there's no more energy, there's dissolution. You break the loop. This applies to relationships, work, even habits. Things that used to pull you down now have nowhere left to hold on to. You've become slippery to what is toxic and receptive to what is true. In this new state, the soul begins to ask for space, to breathe, to simplify, because when the triggers are gone, what's left is pure space, and that space longs to be filled with light. Seventh sign of victory, you feel the urge to simplify everything. There comes a point when you start looking around and everything just feels too much, too many things, too many commitments, too much noise. And then a quiet impulse rises. I need to simplify. And it's not aesthetic, it's spiritual. It's as if your soul gently whispers, to rise I must be light. And deep down you feel something must be released, not because it's wrong, but because it has simply fulfilled its role. You start opening drawers, folders, memories, and you realize how much you've been carrying unnecessarily. Things you held onto out of habit, attachment, or fear. But now, they weigh you down, and you're finally ready to fly. This impulse doesn't come from the rational mind. It comes from a deeper place, like a rocket shedding parts before reaching space. The soul knows there's an altitude where excess can't go, and you're about to reach that altitude. One day I found myself deleting contacts from my phone, not out of anger, but out of peace. It was like saying, I honor this story, but now I move on, lighter. And with every name removed, something new had room to arrive. You feel the urge to clean your home, to mute notifications, to say no more often, to let go of what takes up space but doesn't nourish you. And that's not escapism. That's alignment. Simplifying is a form of prayer. It's saying to the universe, I trust so deeply I can live with less. Less distraction, less outside opinion, less inner noise, more essence, more presence, more silence. And the field responds to that with clarity. Funny how, as you remove the excess, answers begin to appear. Because what you needed wasn't more information, but less interference. Wisdom was buried. Now, it breathes. This simplification also happens internally. You start questioning your goals. Were they really yours or just pretty things from Instagram? You want fewer goals and more purpose, less outcome, more truth. Silence becomes comfortable. Solitude, welcome. An empty Saturday, a blessing. It's as if life gives you a sacred pause to reorganize your being. And that pause is divine. Simplifying also means letting go of pain that's no longer yours. Old grudges, repeated stories, inherited fears, all of that weighs more than it seems. But in this new moment, you don't need to carry it anymore. Letting go is a form of healing. The simpler you become on the outside, the more expansive you feel on the inside. It's like clearing space in your closet and realizing your soul can finally breathe, because the outer reflects the inner, and lightness becomes your new vibrational signature. This shift isn't always understood by others. They may say you've become strange, quieter, we're distant, but you know, you're just more present, more at peace, more aware. And the next sign will show you exactly why. Eighth sign of victory. You start seeing patterns of completion. Suddenly you begin seeing the number 9 everywhere. Dreams about farewells, repeating conversations, old topics resurfacing just to be finally closed, and something inside you senses everything is wrapping up, not with pain, but with honor. It's as if life was saying, let's end this chapter with dignity. And then loose ends start tying themselves. Old stories receive their final paragraphs. Familiar characters reappear just to say goodbye. And you understand, the cycle is complete. These patterns aren't coincidences. They're echoes of your new vibrational frequency. When the soul shifts, the script changes, and everything that belonged to the old storyline must now bow out, even if it's just with a quiet nod. I remember a conversation with someone who deeply hurt me in the past. Out of nowhere, they reappeared, but instead of pain, I felt neutrality. That conversation wasn't about restarting something. It was simply closure, and it was beautiful. Life is wise. It doesn't leave spiritual threads hanging. But resolution doesn't always come in the form of answers. Sometimes it comes through silence, a sudden knowing that says, this no longer matters. Seeing patterns of completion is like watching the credits roll at the end of a film. You can sit and watch, or you can rise and prepare for the next one. But the film is over, and you know it, even without a dramatic ending. Some situations come back just so you realize you're no longer there, not because you ran away, but because you evolved. And true growth is measured by your ability to end without attachment, to end with gratitude. You start feeling the urge to sort through old papers, reply to forgotten emails, delete photos that no longer align with your soul. These may seem like small gestures, but each one is clearing the field, and a clear field is fertile ground for what's next. These signs also appear in synchronicities, repeated numbers, songs, symbols, and they're not random, they're quiet messages from the universe. Everything is being wrapped up. It's common to dream of symbolic deaths, or of saying goodbye to places you once frequented. The soul knows when something has served its purpose, and it lets you know through images, feelings, insights. Listen closely. Recurring themes are clues too. You notice the same lessons showing up in different forms, but this time you respond differently, and in that new response, the test is over. You passed. This recognition is internal. You don't need external confirmation to know a cycle has ended. You feel it, and that feeling is enough. Because your soul is already saying goodbye, even if your eyes still see the old scene. Ending doesn't mean losing. It means successfully completing a phase. And when you honor the ending, and the beginning comes lighter, because you're not carrying ghosts, you're carrying wisdom. And with that wisdom comes a sweetness, a stillness, an unexplainable joy, a kind of gratitude with no apparent reason, a gratitude that overflows even before the new has begun. Ninth sign of victory. You feel deep gratitude without a reason. There are days when you wake up with a light heart, and you can't explain why. Nothing extraordinary has happened, but there's a sense of wholeness in the air, as if something invisible has already been won. That gratitude without a logical reason is one of the deepest spiritual confirmations of victory. It's your field telling you it already worked, even if the physical world hasn't caught up yet. It's like your soul has already watched the end of the movie and is smiling at while your body is still living the final scenes. The soul knows how it ends, and that's why it rests in peace. The mind tries to understand. It looks for a reason, but it finds nothing, and that's okay, because not everything that's real needs to be explained. This spontaneous feeling of gratitude is vibrational. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It's a state of being. It's when you shift from the frequency of I want into the frequency of I already am. I remember a day when nothing had changed on the outside. Same challenges, same bills, same setting, but something inside me was different. I smiled for no reason, and I knew with a quiet certainty that it was already done. This kind of gratitude is both seed and harvest, because when you give thanks in advance, the field understands that you trust, and trust is the greatest fuel for manifestation. You don't wait to feel, you feel, and then it manifests. Gratitude without proof is a vibrational act of faith. It's saying to the universe, I've already received even if I haven't seen it yet. And the universe responds, then now you shall see. This gratitude also prepares you. It expands your ability to receive, because a grateful heart isn't tense, it's open, relaxed, available. And what is meant for you recognizes that openness. You begin to see beauty in simple things, A ray of sunlight at the window, a warm cup of coffee, a comfortable silence. Everything becomes a celebration. And that changes your frequency completely. You're no longer waiting for a grand event. You begin to live in communion with the now. And it's in the now that miracles reveal themselves. No drama, no rush, just presence. This gratitude is also self-care, because you stop demanding constant performance from yourself. You begin to embrace yourself with the same love you used to ask from the world, and you discover that this is already more than enough. It's in that state that life finds you, because now you're no longer chasing, you're vibrating, and everything that belongs to you recognizes your vibration and comes at the right time, in the right way. And if you're feeling this unexplainable gratitude, know this: it is the reason, it is the sign that you've already won, even before your physical eyes can see it. And now that you've felt all of this, tell me honestly, which of these signs had already been present in your life, but you didn't recognize it as victory? Which silence did you mistake for absence when it was really an answer arriving? Because maybe you've already been blessed, but you were still holding on to the idea that blessings have to shine, and not all light makes noise. Sometimes it just illuminates, silently, deeply, gently. So I ask you, which part of your journey are you still resisting to close? What do you need to simplify now to make space for the new? And more importantly, can you give thanks for something before it happens? Share with me in the comments. Write with truth, even if it's just a few words. This space is sacred, and your story might be the exact sign another soul needed to finally trust. Let's keep this field vibrating, healing, and gratitude. If this video touched you, if any part brought you peace, clarity, or even that quiet tear, then like this video now, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who needs to hear that they've already won, even without knowing it. Because yet, you can be the sign in someone's life. And if you enjoyed this journey, in the next video we'll dive into what happens when you stop fighting and start receiving. A deep exploration of the true nature of spiritual abundance. So don't miss it. I'll see you there.